Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Loudguns, and today we're going to be taking a look at days 8 and 9 of the IAE. So we're rolling Drake and MISC into one video. I slightly missed my target of covering every day on the day, but you know, for a guy with a full-time job and a 6-month puppy, I'm not going to beat myself up too much about that. So just before we get into it, if you are a new player and you're sort of watching this to see if Star Citizen's for you, then you've still got a few days of the free fly left if you want to jump in, and you can rent out sort of all of the ships that have been available during the IAE. So I think they say that's access to over 100 ships. So if you were ever just wanting to try Star Citizen, see if it runs on your system, etc., now is definitely the time. Just if you create an account, just make sure you use somebody's referral code, because it gets you some extra starting cash, and at the time of recording, until the 1st of December I believe, it also gets you and the person who refers you a free little ship, an Argo MPUV. So in the interest of trying to get as many people those as I can, you'll find a bunch of referral codes down in the video description if you're looking for one, and that would help out a member of our community. And speaking of the community, if you're looking for people to play Star Citizen with, there's also a link to our Discord in the video description down below, so please feel free to come and say hello. I'd also like to say a big thank you to everybody who helped me with recording this week. I suffered some computer problems which meant I couldn't actually make it to IAE, but today my cameraman is actually me, because thanks to my Patreons whose donations were instantly put towards some extra RAM, and to IM0001, who spent 2.5 hours last night fine-tuning my rig. It now runs like a total beast. I've actually made it to the show floor myself. So in the interest of paying some of that kindness forward, I've been playing the CCU game pretty hard this IAE to buy back some of the purchases I already had in my hangar just cheaper, using some of the War Bond CCUs, etc. And that's freed up a couple of $100 of store credit on my account, so I figured I'd use a bit of that to purchase an Argo RAFT, since I fell in love with this little ship a couple of days ago. And I'll be giving that away to one of you. So I don't believe in making you hang around clickbait style to the end of the video just to see how you enter the competition. So it will basically be any comments from any of the IAE videos, one per person per video, will go into a random draw. And I'll let that person know that they've won themselves a raft. Just check the playlist for the IAE to see all the videos which are included in that, but basically you can have up to 9 entries. So with all that said, on to the show floors. So the first stop is Drake Interplanetary. So in lore, Drake are kind of the bad boys of the ship manufacturers. An awful lot of their ships seem to end up in the hands of nefarious sorts, and really the aesthetic plays to that. They're also sort of the ship manufacturer with the fewest safety features, so no ejection seats here. Amongst my favourite of the Drake series is the Cutlass lineup. So here we've got the Cutlass Red medical version, the Cutlass Black in the middle, that's your sort of standard multi-role base version, and the Cutlass Blue over on the far right, which is sort of a local militia police version. Now, I mentioned this with the Avenger Titan, that sort of the Cutlass Black is one of my recommendations of if you do want to spend a bit more money, particularly if you've got a buddy or two to fly it with. So just if you are thinking of that, you know, we can always make purchases on the final days of IAE. So just take a Cutty Black out with some of your mates and see if it's for you, see if it's worth the money before you spend. Drake also makes some slightly weird and wonderful ships, so I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Herald. It's a data running ship, so not too much gameplay here, but it is basically just an engine strapped to a cockpit. One that might be worth taking out for the traders is the Drake Caterpillar. So this sort of is basically the direct competitor to the C2 in the current game as sort of your mass hauler. It's a really interesting ship going forward, because basically all of those sort of doors which are open on the side indicate a different module, and we'd expect to see some modularity coming. And if you are looking for sort of a punchy bounty hunting ship to start racking up some additional cash, why not take out the Buccaneer? If you enjoyed the Aopoa knock spikes on Alien Day, then take a look at the Drake Dragonfly. Personally, the Nox are my preferred hover bikes, but you know, these are worth trying as well for sure. And then on to the concept halls. So we've got the Drake Corsair, which is basically Drake's competitor to the Constellation series. It's sort of an exploration vessel, but it's got quite a few more sort of forward-facing guns, so maybe for more aggressive explorers, if that's not a bit of an oxymoron. Continuing with Drake concepts, we also have the Vulture. This is basically going to be tier 1 salvage, and it should be out sometime next year when salvage gameplay is implemented. Although salvage is slightly the cursed mechanic, so of all of the game loops in Star Citizen, it's the one I'd hold my breath least on. And finally in the concepts we have the Drake Kraken, which is Drake's massive capital ship. It's basically an aircraft carrier. Very cool design, and I have to say, so this would be my sort of featured ship of the day for Drake. I've done a series called Getting Organised, which is all about sort of putting together fleets for different types of profession. If you were trying to build an org, it was mostly aimed at sort of showing actually how many people you'd need to run a fleet which had a capital ship at the centre of it, and I think that sort of starts from an org of 100 people. That said, in an awful lot of those I covered a variety of professions, but in an awful lot of those the Drake Kraken was the centrepiece capital ship that made the most sense. It's just highly versatile, because while this could be the centre of a military force, it could just as easily be the centre of a mining operation, sort of carrying prospectors and moles to a location. It could be the centre of a salvage operation, bringing in those vultures and sort of maybe acting as a centre base for bringing all the parts and stuff back to. I'm also really interested to see how this is actually trumped in a military capacity. I know that the Aegis Javelin is sort of the flagship of Star Citizen, if you like. It's the highest dollar value ship, it's the biggest, it's got the most crew, but it's effectively a battleship. And one thing which I find quite interesting is that modern naval warfare is actually entirely centred around aircraft carrier fleets. And it's all about sort of using your aircraft to take out the enemy's aircraft carrier, if you're talking about a conventional war. So I am interested to see how the Javelin really actually stacks up against the Kraken. So on seamlessly to MISC Day, and here in the main hall we've got the Starfarer Gemini, Prospector, and some of the MISC Razor series. The Starfarer series is refueling, so the mechanic isn't in the game yet, but if you're looking for a weird, quirky little mini-game to play today at the IAE, then just try entering the Starfarer and finding the bridge first time. The ship definitely needs sort of a bit of an internal rework. However, one thing we do use them for quite frequently is just as really good FPS maps. So if you've got some buddies and you fancy sort of just grabbing some FPS weapons, taking this thing out into the middle of space, and then actually if you just want to play sort of Counter-Strike in the black, then this could be a ship to do it in. Just make sure you rent something like a Carrack or an 890 Jump when all the ships are available tomorrow to act as a spawn point. We've also got the Prospector, and if you're just looking to try out mining, definitely rent one of these. It's a bit rubbish with the stock laser, but it'll at least get you a feel for the mining game, and you can hopefully just see if you like that and if it's the sort of thing for you. And if you just want to charge around at top speed, then try out one of the MISC Razors, one of MISC's racing ships. In lore, MISC is one of the first manufacturers to sign a sort of partnership deal with an alien race, the Xi'an. So if you're looking for a quirky alien-influenced ship, then try out one of the Reliant series, which are in Hall 2 today. They come in a variety of flavours. One is even a reporting, sort of broadcasting ship. But the Reliants are even somewhat underrated as a pretty good pocket fighter. And on the Holo Viewer, we've got the Hull A, the first of the Hull series. This is basically a cargo starter, which is going to be a competitor to the Argo RAFT, I'd imagine. we've also got the Hull A's big brother, well, one of them, the Hull C. So this is a large sort of transporter designed for taking freight between sort of space-bound stations. It can't land on planets, but it can haul an awful lot of SCU. However, the series goes all the way up to an E, so they do get crazy big. And one of my personal favourite concept ships, the MISC Endeavour. This is a highly modular craft, so this is basically just the frame of it, and then you get a whole series of modules to turn this into anything from a space farm to a hospital. And the final ship on the Holo viewers is probably the biggest talking point of today. It's the MISC Odyssey. This is a new release to concept today, and it's basically MISC's competitor for the Carrack. A sort of large exploration vessel. And it's a really cool idea. I think it was Nubifire who really hit it on the head, that this is basically designed as a perpetual motion engine. It's got a remote controlled mining rig on the front of it, which is designed to mine quantanium, and a refinery on board to turn that into additional quantum fuel, as well as some sort of intakes which allow it to manufacture hydrogen fuel. So basically, this could be the ship for you if you're envisaging yourself sort of, reaching the edge of the universe and then just keeping going. Exact info on the Odyssey is obviously sort of a little sparse. It's only a couple of hours since it went live, but we can take a look at what we do know. You get 252 SCU of cargo space, which is a fair bit short of the 456 that the Carrack's got, but it's still a fair bit. And the Carrack's the ship I'm most likely to compare this against, because I think this Odyssey sits very much in the exploration tree. The weapons have come up a lot higher than sort of were indicated by various leaks which came out about the Odyssey ahead of time. So you can get 3 remote operated turrets with size 5 guns, and a fair few missiles as well. The Odyssey's got a hangar on board, which is going to take a variety of ships by the looks of things, but almost certainly, based on the imagery and the fact that the pack comes with a saber, you can fit an Aegis saber in there for a bit of a combat support role. It'll be really interesting to see whether a prospector will fit as well. In terms of medical facilities, it's got a tier 2 bed on board, so that's going to put it in line with the Carrack, which also has that tier 2 medbay. And then we come to the mining arm, which obviously got me very excited ahead of time, but that excitement's cooled a little bit. It just seems from the text of the descriptions that the mining arm is very much dedicated to just sort of getting you quantanium, and then we've got the refinery on board, and the specifics there that we have at the moment just talk purely about turning quantanium into quantum fuel, and refining sort of hydrogen from the intakes into hydrogen fuel. So from what's written here, and I stress to add, this is the point about there not being enough information, but this isn't really a mining ship. From the looks of it, it's more about sort of feeding your engines to keep yourself exploring. And one thing I would basically say is that, while this looks incredibly cool, there just isn't enough information to my mind to go out and consider whether or not to buy it. If you're looking to sort of spend cash on this ship, I'd just say, just wait a few hours. I'd imagine we'll have a Q&A up on the website anytime soon, and that'll probably offer sort of answers to a lot of these questions, which I think you're going to really need before you start sort of justifying that sort of price tag. But as I always say, you do you. So there we have it. So that was IAE 2951. I have officially now been there and got the t-shirt. And I just want to end by saying a big thank you to everybody who watched any of these videos, enjoyed them, and helped me make them. So please do get in touch in the comments, get entering that raft competition. I really enjoy reading the comments. I really enjoy having conversations with people. I love talking about this game. So sorry if I take a while to, but I do try my best to respond to every comment, and had some really good chats there. The show will carry on over the next few days. but it basically moves to a phase where they're just looking at the best in show ships which won the competition that was run earlier in the year. So we're not going to be covering that because we've seen all those ships during the last sort of 9 days anyway, so there's nothing particularly new to see. However, definitely worth saying, particularly for new players and people participating in the free fly, that during those days all of the ships that have been on display will be for rent for free. So if there was anything that you missed that you really want to try, then make sure you get yourself to Microtech and get renting those out. I'm going to take a couple of days to let my voice recover, but then we are going to be back to sort of scheduled programming as such, coming up with some new videos, looking at sort of continuing the Getting Organised series, etc. So if you are enjoying the content, then please consider hitting subscribe to the channel. I'd also like to end by saying a big thank you to my Patreons for their support, and I will also, sort of during my little hiatus from a video a day, I will be putting my mind to making sure that the video gets a proper intro which thanks you all properly. So with all that said, thank you very much for watching all the way to the end, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.